Last night, Lauren and Dr. Fabian and I were at the Palapa Sports Bar, and I see these three guys, and I said, you know what? They either work at Mahogany Bay doing some, heavy construction. And I said, are you guys at Mahogany Bay doing some heavy construction? They said, well, actually, no. We're sailors. And we just got in yesterday, and we travel, just to make a long story short, they travel around the world on their sailboat, and they were so much fun. And first thing I said to myself was, I've got to see if I can get these guys on the show. And of course, they love the idea of being on the radio. Here they are, world travelers. They don't know anything about being on a radio or television. And here we are. They get invited to a radio show one day after they hit land here. They're going to probably think, man, this Roatan is pretty good. We get on land. We have a great drink. We watched the basketball game last night. We get asked on the radio. What a great island this is. So I've got three guys with me. Rodney Collier from Northern Virginia. I've got Peter Calvert?
It's Covert.
Covert,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Covert from Orlando, Florida. And also Dan Komistek. Okay, Dan is from Medicine Hat for all our Canadian listeners. We do have a lot of Canadian listeners. So I want to welcome you guys to the show. And, I really can't wait to hear what we're going to come up with. So, Rodney, I want to start with you only because you're closest to the mic. Rodney, welcome to the show. Tell me a little bit about you and how you kind of became a guy that left the world behind in favor of sailing around the world.
Well, we really appreciate coming in today. The nice thing about sailing and traveling this way is the people you meet. You never really know when you come to a new port who you're going to meet, what you're going to end up doing, and that's why I love it. And I think the people that are out there doing long-distance sailing and wandering around the world do that for the experiences and for the people. And we come into Roatan. I've never been here before. People are so friendly. It is so nice here. We're really looking forward to being here. And that's probably what got me hooked in sailing to begin with. When I thought I wanted to travel around the world and have a look, I thought about how I would do that. I didn't really want to do it in a hotel. I wanted to experience the cultures, and when you set offshore sailing, you have your home with you. When you get somewhere like Roatan, my home is here, and you're able to really get out and meet people and kind of get immersed in the culture. Generally, we can stay a little bit longer than your typical tourist. We might stay 3 months, we might stay a year. And that's a lot of it. It's certainly not something for everyone. I always say sailing is something you'll either really love or you'll really hate, but you won't be ambivalent about it once you've done it. Because it's, you'll have a really good trip. Like the trip here, we came up from Key West. It took us 5 days. It was just perfect sailing. We had the spinnaker out a lot, which we don't usually get the opportunity to fly. And then once we rounded Cuba and we started to feel a little bit of the Caribbean trades.
We get some great easterly trades here.
Yeah, right? The easterly trades made just for a fantastic run up here. The seas were pretty flat, and we love it, but that doesn't happen very often. It could be coming down the coast and getting beat to death, and you'll hate it.
I want to stay with you, Rodney, just because it is a little bit awkward here about the setup, and Peter can't just slide over. I want to stick with you a little bit. What did you do back at home? What kind of work did you do, and how did that prepare you for getting out there and being a sailor?
Well, I actually worked for a multinational corporation, UPS. I worked for them for 23 years. But I was looking at traveling, and that I guess since I was a child I wanted to travel. I always had the wanderlust. And I got a pilot's license. Thought, that could be a good way to do it, but it really wasn't. Once you fly to an airport, you're there, you have no car, you have no place to stay, and so I thought, well, what about sailing? Now, I grew up in the Midwest, pretty far from the ocean, but sailing looked like it could be appealing, and read a book by Tanya Abbey. She sailed around the world when she was 16, 17, and I thought, if she can do it, I can do it. So I bought a boat, learned how to sail, and then I bought a bigger boat, learned how to sail offshore, and made a plan to leave. I had a target date to leave. I got an opportunity to leave a little bit early, and when that day came, I had no qualms about leaving the corporate world and hopping on a boat and setting offshore, and I've loved it. I've loved traveling. I've loved the people I've met, the places I've been. Stayed a year in New Zealand, which I really loved, a year in Australia, which I really liked, and a year in Turkey, which was really amazing. And all the stops in between were great, and made a lot of friends that I still hear from all of those places. And these guys here with me today, Dan, I met Dan in Darwin, Australia. And what I did when I was doing my trips, I took expense sharing crew for 3 months at a time. And we had a start port and a finish port, and plenty of time to make that trip. Normally it was an ocean crossing, and whatever we decided to do in between was what we all decided to do. And I had a British guy drop out at the last minute and put a notice up at a youth hostel, and Dan was backpacking through, and he fell for it. He showed up at the boat and said, "Yeah, I want to go."
How long ago was that?
That was 99. Yeah, time really flies. And we had that trip. I had Dan from Canada. I had 2 British girls, and I had a Swedish guy named Ron, and myself. And we set off from Darwin, headed for Mombasa Bay in Kenya, and ended up in Mumbai in India because we all decided in the middle of the Indian Ocean that maybe we'd go to India instead of Africa. And that's the unique thing about people that will travel sailing and the spirit they have. You're just you live in the moment, and that 5 people in the middle of the Indian Ocean in the Chagos Island group could sit there and say, well, we haven't even thought about going to India. Why don't we go there? And so we talked about it. There was a South African boat anchored, and they had some charts of the Maldives and 1 chart of India. We swapped some charts, and we decided to go to India. And we sailed from the Chagos Islands up to the Maldives. Spent 19 days trying to get our Indian visas. Finally got our visas and headed off to Mumbai. And that was an interesting trip. We got into Mumbai. I had to wait there 3 months for the monsoons to shift. So we dropped anchor right by the gates of India, near the Taj Mahal Hotel, 2 blocks from the Royal Bombay Yacht Club. And
how is the Royal Bombay Yacht Club, by the way?
It was very nice, very nice. Whenever we went down to the Royal Bombay Yacht Club, everybody bought us a drink, and so we had to be prepared to be a bit tipsy if we were going there.
Were there any yachts there, by the way?
The thing about the Royal Bombay Yacht Club is there were no yachts. There were some day racers that once a month they put in the water, but we were the only boat at the Royal Bombay Yacht Club.
The only boat. All right, Peter, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us your story and how the possibility of traveling. You guys have traveled around the world. I mean, this is just all 3 of you have traveled around the world already sailing. Is that it?
No, not for me. Rod and I have been friends. We worked together at UPS years ago, and there was one night I left UPS. I kind of retired and moved to Florida, and Rod had just bought his first boat. And it was in a parking lot at a boat store, and we sat in there and thought, "This is it. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come." So I've hooked up with Rod on a few occasions. Once in Australia, once in Turkey, and then made some passages up and down the Atlantic coast. Yeah.
You spent time in Turkey.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, Turkey rocks. Turkey is just wonderful.